Hello, it's Robyn with Empowering Businesses. I have my good friend Jeff with me today. Jeff, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Robyn, thank you for having me on the show. I'm excited for you as you launch your podcast. I think you're going to have a lot of fun conversations. So, for those who are tuning in or new to you or to me, I am a curator of connections. And what I do is I build business communities that help businesses grow. And I am the host of the Global Wellness Headquarters podcast.
Wonderful. What is some of the best advice you could give a business owner?
Well, I'm biased, and here's the thing. First of all, two things, if I may. Number one is always know the return on investment for the projects you undertake. And that's the thing. Businesses have this, we have finite resources, we have finite capital, we have finite energy and time. As a business, no matter what size you are, put the most energy into the things that give you the best growth. So that's my number one piece of advice is know your return on investment for everything you do. The other piece of advice I love to share is to grow your business network before you need it. So I've seen time and time again businesses that didn't have a network and then they all of a sudden needed it. They wanted to grow. They waste a lot of time, energy, and money on paid traffic, paid marketing, paid sales. When if you build a network and you grow your business network, it will help your business grow. And what I love about networking is when it's done right, it's a highly sustainable way to grow a business.
Isn't that the truth? Relationships and that networking is the main part. We definitely trust our friends that way.
And I think that's the third piece of advice, if I can throw in a bonus one. A lot of people approach networking transactionally and they say, hey, I've got a widget. Do you want to buy a widget? Hey, Robyn, how many widgets can I sign you up for? That's kind of the model of the multi-level marketing. And, I think a lot of people learned bad networking somewhere. But the reality with good networking is you should care about the people you're networking with, and your solutions are there to help them solve problems. That's a much higher energy than, hey, I got widgets, who wants to buy 10 of them?
Going on that, is there any other big mistakes that you've seen some of your clients be making over the past couple of years?
I think the three biggest mistakes I see over and over and over and over and over again is, first of all, I'm amazed by how many people who businesses, they've been around forever, they can't tell me with certainty who they serve. So if you're not clear on who you serve, how am I going to help you? And by the way, this applies to your marketing efforts, your sales efforts, to networking. If you're not crystal clear on who you work with, you're going to struggle with everything else. And there are people say, oh, I need to be a generalist. The money is being narrow and focused on a niche. So, I joke that, people say, oh, I serve dentists. That's a little too broad. If I was to do something with dentists, I would serve left-handed dentists in Edmonton who serve pediatrics. That is a niche I can wrap my head around, and those are actual people I can reach. So mistake number one is not knowing who you serve. Mistake number two that I see a lot is not knowing exactly what you do for the people you serve. So people will show up at networking events. I see it in marketing. I see it on billboards. They'll either say something so clever and vague that nobody understands what they actually need, or they'll give a list of 57 things and they hope somebody reads the entire list and says, oh, I need item number 56. So one of the things I do is pick your top three things, the most, we talked about return on investment. Pick your top three products or services and focus on growing those. Your business will do better than trying to grow 57 things. So that's the second. And then the third one, I see people being really, really tactical And this kind of manifests it as, they're the firefighter. They're always doing, busy things. They've got 1,000 things on the go. The secret is you want to be strategic, and you want to look for, a friend of mine says that big doors swing on small hinges. You want to look for those leverage points where, instead of, focusing on, completing 57 things, find 3 things that move your business forward today. So I teach a concept, I call it the 5x5 daily success habits. And basically what you do is, what are the 5 most important things I need to do today so that my business moves forward tomorrow? And it's just having that discipline of understanding what's strategic and makes a big long-term impact versus what's tactical. And, even if you get it done today, it doesn't matter tomorrow whether it was done or not.
That sounds really helpful and useful. It could be quite a bit though to overcome some of those, to be able to pinpoint exactly what you're doing and where you want to serve your clients.
And honestly, if you find yourself burning out, feeling stressed out, it's usually because you're trying to do too many things for too many people. And just the discipline of saying, okay, this is the one audience I serve, these are the 3 products or services I offer. Just focusing on the core, and there's different ways of call the language around it, but rather than trying to fix all the things we're bad at, let's really polish the few things we're amazing at. And so it's actually easy because it's going to be stuff that feels effortless to you, it's fun to you, and it has a big impact on the business.
What are 3 actionable tips you would give to individuals who can implement to improve their personal wellness journey?
Well, wellness is a big part of business. And I think, one of the things I say to people, if you don't have the financial wellness piece taken care of, you're not going to get to the other areas of wellness. So one of the things I would say, actionable things you can do tomorrow, number 1, identify in your client base, which client group, whether it's a list of people or a description of people. I guarantee in almost every business, if you look at your revenues, the top 20% of your clients will generate a big percentage, a disproportionate percentage of your revenue. And most businesses, when I look at it, 80% of their revenue comes from 20% of their customers. So action item number 1 is look at your customer base and look at it from the point of view of, if I could clone my best clients, who are they in the first place? So that's the first thing, is just look at your numbers and say, okay, here's who they are. The second tip I would give is, knowing who you serve, find communities that already exist of those people. So, for example, if you sell running shoes, you don't want to be the person who's trying to convince couch potatoes to get out and go running. You want to find a community of runners. That's a very strategic approach. The third thing I would say, and this is going to sound very strange, start a podcast. And we'll get into some of the details of that in another conversation over time. But the reality is, in sales and marketing, the hardest thing is starting that first conversation with a prospect. If you have a well-oiled podcast, and it doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be done, the podcast opens doors for you that wouldn't otherwise be open.
That's very true. Podcasts are the new way, I believe.
And it's funny, people say, oh, everybody's got a podcast. I have some 20-something friends, they're kids, and they're like, oh, podcasts are so, baby boomer, Gen X. But the reality is, a good podcast is a relationship building tool. Like you and I were having a conversation. It's a really good way to reach people. And more importantly, to share people with your network.
Mm-hmm. Because I know people and you know people, and if we could all share the wealth, we would be doing so much better. I absolutely agree. Can you give me an example what you think a great client outcome looks like for you and your clients?
Well, for me, first and foremost, and this is just knowing who I am, knowing what I do, everything I do is centered around building relationships. So one of the metrics we have is net lives improved. I borrowed that from Fred Reichheld, author of Winning on Purpose. Basically, the idea, a good, successful outcome is that through certain tools, we have podcasting, we have books, we have magazines, but basically my clients, we build a community, and within that community, the raving fans bring their friends and colleagues. So the business grows by literally cloning their best clients. So one of the things I see a lot, and this is counterintuitive, we're not doubling a business. And this is actually a really fun distinction, because a lot of people think, oh, I'm going to double my business. That means I double the headaches, I double all the pain, all the nuisance. The goal is to grow the best clients. And we talked about the 80-20 and how 20% of your clients will bring you 80% of the revenue. If we can double that group and eliminate the rest, you actually end up making more money in less time with less stress. So when you know with certainty where your next great client's going to come from, life is significantly easier for everybody, and the business can focus on systems and processes and growth rather than where's that next client coming from.
I'm sure you've heard me say it a lot. Work smarter, not harder.
Absolutely.
So, is there anything else you would like to add today?
I think the biggest thing, and I'm going to share a book resource because I think books are important and we can learn from others. One of my favorite books is The Go-Giver. It was co-authored by Bob Burg and John David Mann. And the takeaway from the book, the number one secret to success, and this is not a surprise or shouldn't be a surprise, the secret to success is helping others. If you help enough people, this is a misquote of Jim Rohn, but if you help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want in life. And I think that's a lot of people are, what's in it for me? What can you do for me? I approach my network as what can I do for you? How can I serve you? And magically, my network responds in kind. I believe in abundance, therefore abundance comes back to me.
And if anybody that has listened to this podcast wants to connect with you, how would they be best to get a hold of you?
The easiest is I'm on LinkedIn. I'll put a link for you in the show notes. Or you can go to my website, globalwellnesshq.com. And by the way, I was being clever with my marketing. Turns out not everybody knows that HQ is an abbreviation for headquarters. So that's the best place. We have podcast episodes. We love new guests. So if you want to join us, there's a link on how you can join us and be on our podcast as well.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much, Jeff, for taking some time out of your day to come and talk with us.
Thank you for having me on the show, Robyn.